Before we dive into our main story, let's take a moment for a brief recap of Seasons 1 and 2. However, if you've already read it, feel free to skip ahead to the 39th minute of the video. Irene Pereira was a son of a noble. Irene was very famous in their estate and was nicknamed the deadbeat noble. He lost his mother at a young age and didn't do anything until the age of 15. He stayed in his room every day, doing nothing but sleeping, and so the nickname came along. But one day, he cannot sleep for a certain reason, because of a strange dream. His body is itching and holding a sword. His dream was about a stranger who came to a village. The man has a fierce and dangerous eye like someone who has experienced horrible things. Some people who peeked at the fence said that this guy was just swinging his sword every day without rest. For 5 years, he just swings his sword again, and even a beard grows all over his face. On the 6th year, 9th month, and 3rd day, there was a lot of snow, but that man trained nevertheless. Even on the strong rainy days, he just swings his great sword again and again. After 37 years had passed, he was on his knees, but his eyes are still raging. He hadn't let go of his sword till the end of his last breath. Like the man in his dreams, Irene also picks up the large great sword and continuously slashes it again and again without rest. Even his body screams in pain. There was a wandering knight who just watched Irene train for several days just to fulfill his curiosity, thinking that Irene would just stop training and give up at the end. He sees potential in Irene and asks who will going to be his swordsmanship instructor of Irene. When he realized it was a drunkard knight, he got angry because he didn't want to waste Irene, who he considered as a gem. He goes to the Lord, which is the father of Irene, and tells him about the potential of Irene. He talks about the recommendation letter to the Krono swordsmanship school. It is the continent's best swordsmanship school that only teaches talented children, regardless of nationality, gender, or status. Just by being a trainee, you could be treated like a nobleman, a place with a greater reputation than the Royal Academy. Irene accepted the offer and got the recommendation letter to enroll in the Krono Swordsmanship Academy. As someone who was known as the deadbeat noble, everyone glares at him in his entry at the academy. Even the instructors were questioning why would a picky knight like Bran Somerville recommend someone like Irene. During the training as someone who has a weak body from just sleeping for years, Irene was always in the last and he received mockery from his fellow academy students. But he was determined, so he stood up and ran again. He wanted to be like the man in his dreams. He wants to be on par with him. Together with Irene in the academy is Ilya Lindsay, who was considered a genius in their family, and Brett, who came from a famous noble family but has an inferiority complex. And also Judith, who was a commoner but was a strong individual that even defeated Brett for the 2nd place in one of the tests. At some point, Ilya, who doesn't talk to anyone, was able to help Irene in some of his training, offering him tips on how to do weightlifting. The Krono swordsmanship master is Ian, who is a 90-year-old swordmaster who took a liking at Irene. Master Ian even offered Irene a swordsmanship training. But he also felt that Irene has something like a guardian in his back who assists him during training. Even though Irene starts from the bottom, he is able to reach the final evaluation stage in their swordsmanship skills. In the final evaluation, Brett and Judith spar with one another to showcase their talents. It starts with an equal match exchanging swords with one another. During the continuous exchange, one winner emerges in the end, and that is Brett, because Judith's sword was destroyed during their sparring match. Ilya Lindsay shows also the swordsmanship of their family, the sky sword that slew the demonic dragon king. In every slash of Ilya, it creates large wind in the whole area. Everyone was in awe to see the sky sword personally. Because of what they saw, Brett felt the greatest inferiority to Ilya, and he felt like he was only dreaming of thinking that he can defeat Ilya in the first place. That is why he also wishes that Irene, out of all people, to not be special like Ilya. When Irene's turn and asks what is he going to show to the people, he just says that he is going to show one vertical slash. Everyone was disappointed to know that he would only show one vertical slash in the final assessment. Only Master Ian looks forward to it. In Master Ian's mind, now, show me. You, who didn't desire my teachings. You, who was indifferent to my swordsmanship. Show me your sword, Irene. Irene stands still for a minute without doing anything. He is just meditating, thinking of the man who endlessly swings his sword. The man who keeps moving forward with a will that is hard as steel. With just one vertical slash from Irene, it created a massive crack in the whole area that made everyone who was watching shock. When Master Ian announces the result, Judith was in the 4th place and Brett Lloyd was on the 3rd place. Irene Pereira was on the 2nd place, and on the 1st place is Ilya Lindsay. After that, Ilya told Irene that she will going to leave the Krono Swordsmanship Academy to go back to their estate. She told him about his brother Carl Lindsay, who was considered as the greatest genius in the continent with his superior talent, which reached a height impossible for his age. But there was a commoner who took 1st place in the Krono Swordsmanship Academy, but refused to become an official trainee. The continent's 2nd genius who organized a mercenary band at the young age of 14. A person named Ignet appeared requesting to spar with Ilya's older brother. Carl accepted the challenge, and as a result, after 3 strikes, it ended with Ignet's victory, and Ignet called Carl as a disappointment. From that point on, he was met with cold eyes and fell into unbearable despair after receiving the pressure of indiscreet condemnation and ridicule. Because of that, she pledged that she will not be controlled by anyone, but before she knew it, she was already being controlled and wanted to overcome Ignet. But because of Irene, she wants to change, and from that moment she wants to follow his heart. That is why she wants to thank Irene for it. After that, Irene was given a chance by Master Ian to find his sword for a year, and Ilya gave Irene their family insignia so when he visits the Lindsay family estate, he won't be treated poorly. Brett Lloyd was somewhat able to overcome his inferiority complex, and only he and Judith stayed at the Swordsmanship Academy. While Irene is on his way home, they meet the Gyron family son, which is the most hostile family towards the Pereira, the family that plainly ignored and humiliated Irene on many occasions. When the young master of the Gyron family, Aaron Gyron, asks Irene to shake hands with an intention of crushing the hands of Irene with his grip strength, Irene just looks at him without any movement at all, even though he was putting all of his strength. Irene was confused about why he was gripping tightly, so he gripped the hand of Aaron, but it ended up with Aaron suffering from pain. That is when a talking cat suddenly appeared and she said, "What? It is already over? What are you doing? Give him a good smack." Because the knight of the Gyron family, Sir Jack Stewart, heard that there is nothing good comes out of associating with a mystic, he bows down to the mystic cat and says, "I apologize if we acted rudely towards you, Mystic. We will now take our leave. If you were offended, then please visit Viscount Gyron's territory." Although the mystic cat was disappointed that there is no fight that happened, the Gyron family continues their way. When he reached his home, his father told him that the mystic cat named is Ruru, who is a real cat. She even has an intelligence of a human, and that cat is super strong, that is probably stronger than any of the mystics in the kingdom's capital, and Ruru also visited their estate requesting to be Kirill's teacher, Irene's sister, who is also a mystic. The guards even warned Irene about Ruru. He said, "I have heard rumors that the cat mystic gathers misfortune around her. It is almost as if she is cursed." Although Irene noticed that soldiers avoid Ruru for that reason, he still plays with her since he likes this cat. When Irene tries to grab a sword to his own way of sword as what Master Ian assigned him, Ruru was amazed to see the heaviness of emotion in that slash of sword. Ruru showed him her mystic powers and she said, "Irene, have you ever learned the mystic arts? Irene, please become my student." However, Irene said no, because being a mystic is not something that can be learned by someone even if they want to. Ruru said, "You don't know a thing. There is no one more suited for mystic arts than a swordsman with a strong will. From what I can see, there is a high possibility that you will awaken an ability that will support your swordsmanship. Do you know the difference between swordsmen, magicians, and mystics? I will only tell you just this once, so listen carefully. All martial artists, including swordsmen, focus on their bodies, or in other words on their interiors. After endless strengthening and training, they obtain boundless mysterious power, which is aura. On the other hand, magicians focus on their surroundings, or in other words, the exterior. They analyze mana, the mysterious power found in nature, and try to understand the principles, laws, and logics of the world. Then, what about a mystic? Many people say that they are an existence that makes stubborn demands to the world. They are an existence that asks for the impossible to happen. They are an unprecedented existence that ignores the laws and common sense of the world and make their will that they sincerely hope for into reality. That is a mystic. But you must understand one thing. Mystics need a will strong enough for it to be possible to change the entire world by themselves. They need an extraordinary and unrivaled heart that can't even be imagined by normal existences. Therefore, a mystic power is proportional to the power of their heart. Ruru felt an unbreakable will from his vertical slash that had strong desire to cut something. After that, Irene was assigned to one expedition. His butler warns him about the rumor about Ruru. There is a rumor that she was in a mystic guild called Oracle in the eastern part of the continent, and that the guild was completely destroyed after she left. He also heard that after the second son of Jackal Thief became her disciple, he lost his life in an unfortunate accident. And even the previously wealthy Balvenie merchant group had a downward trend in sales after meeting a black cat. During the banquet of the other nobles, Irene was being looked down by other nobles just because he was holding the glass of wine in a wrong way. Because of this, Irene excused himself away from the banquet and ran away to the training grounds, blaming himself and thinking that he is a bad son for making the life of his family harder for being once a lazy son. And in the training grounds, that son from the Ruzel family even looked down at Irene, saying that he does not only know how to hold a wine glass, but he also doesn't know how to hold the sword. That is why Irene told them to come and go at him for a spar. The first one who spars with Irene was defeated easily, and he doesn't want to accept the result, saying that Irene only won because of a surprise attack. The next person who spars on Irene ends up begging someone to stop the fight because he can't say anything as his hands are shivering from all of the heavy attacks he received from Irene. And the last one is from Gyron's family, who wasn't able to release one slash because his sword broke down before he could release one attack. He could only dodge away from Irene from just feeling his pressure. He could only ask questions about how his sword broke down because they didn't even clash swords to begin with. Ruru somewhat became Irene's teacher, saying that he needs to swing his sword with sincerity 1,000 times a day, pouring his heart into the sword with a thought on how he can move forward and make it stronger in each and passing day. But after days of training, suddenly Irene awakened his mystic arts. Ruru said that Irene enters to a space that no one can enter or interfere with. It is a space only for himself that is the most ideal for fulfilling his wish. Irene will continue training there until he obtains the result he was satisfied with. Ruru blames herself, thinking if she cursed someone again. In that space, he saw the man in his dreams looking at him. Suddenly, Irene was pulled to the man, who is standing still with brilliant light surrounds him. He was transported to a place where that man trains for years, and there is nothing in there but just a large sword of the man. For Irene, it was a great training space, and in that place he can find someday the way of his sword. That place can provide him with shelter, clothes, and unlimited food, for Irene mystic arts was amazing. In that space he was able to train with Ilya, Brett, and Judith. He was also able to copy and train their sword style. And after 5 years of training with swords, he was able to come out, and he said sorry to his parents for making them worry. After that, to enter the subjugation, his sister Kirill told Irene that he needed to spar on her to prove that he is ready for the subjugation. Because of mystic powers, now Irene was able to summon sword automatically using mystic arts. Irene was able to show the fruit of his training in 5 years because of that spar. And with that, Kirill approved his brother, and he said that he is sorry for taking so long in that mystical space. Kirill told Irene about the particulars of the mission. She said, a demonoid has appeared. About a month ago, its traces were discovered south of the Gyron territory. The existences who attained immense power through a contract with a demon. You could say that demonoids are comparable to mystics, a corrupted and mystic power originating from a negative heart. Their danger can't be even compared to regular monsters. The mystic of Caesar Skin, a kitten who is also the master of Kirill, is actually a 50+ years old woman who looks younger due to mystic arts. He gives Irene an artifact that detects a certain level of demonic energy and dangerous elements. It can even detoxify most poisons. Although everything seems to be okay now, Irene is still longing to his friend, which is Ruru, who went missing after the incident. During that time, the one who is in charge is the vice captain of the Twilight Knight Order, Sir Hill Burnett, for the subjugation of the demonoid, who gives a short prank to all those nobles who just wants honor in participating in subjugation. They let them feel the intense pressure from him to scare them off. And while they are traveling, a sudden giant appeared, and all of them were shocked by the sudden appearance. Sir Hill Burnett was thinking that he could only be the one who could defeat the giant, and he had no choice but to leave the other creatures to the Twilight Knight Order. But before the subjugation commander could take an action to attack the giant, Irene Pereira was already there jumping and slicing down the giant easily. But that giant didn't die that easily as he was able to regenerate once again and releases a counterattack towards Irene trying to smash him down. But with just one vertical slash of Irene, the whole area disintegrated, including the giant. At that moment, the Subjugation commander realized the monster of Hail Kingdom Irene, who is on par of Ilya, appeared in front of them. They entered the place where the suspected demonoid is staying, and the demonoid they encounter has the ability to hypnotize the subject just by looking at her eyes. For the Subjugation commander, this demonoid is much stronger than he expected. Sir Hilburnett used his roar to wake up the soldiers and go back to themselves. The demonoid captures both the knight and the son of the Gyron's family, and she says that she will let them go if they will let her escape. That is when the confrontation between the two parties starts. The Gyron family, who wants to stop them from attacking just to protect his son, and the Subjugation commander, who wants to finish his duty. Sir Hilburnett said, "Twilight Knight order with my authority as the Subjugation commander. I order you. Give no heed to anyone who gets in the way of the demonoid subjugation regardless of their status." The demonoid was happy that the Subjugation team was in chaos, but what caught her attention is Irene, who was holding his sword and was closing his eyes even in the dire situation. And she was shocked to see a sudden wind slash approaching her, and that came from Irene, who was able to attack and damage the demonoid. When she tried to escape, Irene was there waiting for her, and Irene released one vertical slash that reached the demonoid and he was cut in half. She turned into stone and later crumbled into pieces. After that, Ruru appeared in their estate while she still blames herself for making Irene separated from his family for 5 years, and she don't want to be with Irene since he brings misfortune. Irene said, "A black cat will become a symbol of good fortune starting today, and we will be together from now on. My belief will be stronger than the beliefs of everyone else. I believe that you are a cat that brings good fortune." Ruru could only cry and said that she missed Irene. After that, Ruru said something, "The man in your dreams. He seems to have a strong hatred towards demonoid. No, maybe their roots. It may be hatred towards demons. If he is someone from around 150 years ago, that is." While on his way to go back to the academy, he was able to spar with one of his batchmates in the Krono Swordsmanship Academy. He spars with Lance and Irene, one using both the swordsmanship of Brett and Judith. He was also able to spar with the Krono Swordsmanship Academy headmaster Ian, who he shows his vertical slash to him. While traveling, they also gain a new companion. He is Kruver, who is an Urk and also a shaman that acts as their guide. They were also able to meet Anya, a young girl who is also a mystic. In the Darinku drill hall, some famous swordsmen gather to get the prize, which is a numbering sword made by famous dwarf blacksmiths such as Vulcanus, Pablo, and Dwanson. But the dwarves' blacksmith doesn't want to pick the winner, but solely on someone who can give them inspiration for the creation of the new sword. When Irene tries to summon his great sword, all of the dwarfs was taken aback. They stopped the match and declared that the owner of the 10th numbering sword will be Irene Pereira. But after a month, Irene leaves the area for another journey and leaves his sword in their care since the dwarf said they needed to finish it within the year. But on their way, they meet these two guys, Victor and Charlotte, who was also a participant in that time. They are waiting to ambush Irene to take the numbering sword, saying they need it since they were not able to pass the wall no matter what they do. While this too was enraged, saying that Irene would never understand them. Irene felt a demonic energy among these humans, so he prepared to defend himself. But Anya was actually tracking these two people, and she suddenly summoned a portal. In that portal, there is a person who came out. It was the Holy Kingdom's Black Knight Order Captain Ignet Crescentia. Those two people didn't even stand a chance against a strong opponent like Ignet. Ignet was a swordmaster, but even with that feat, she was able to kill two experts barehanded. She has a merciless strength. Ignet told Irene that she wants him to be part of the Black Knight Order, but Irene refused and they end up sparring with one another. Irene receives a punch from Ignet that makes him thrown away and lose consciousness. When Irene woke up, he asked Ignet what is her sword. Ignet said that her sword is one to become a king. Kruver said that statement is like instigating a rebellion, but Ignet explained her stand. Before she jumps down, she said, "Irene Pereira, who do you trust?" "I trust in myself. I have conviction in myself. Because of that, I can walk my own path without a single shred of doubt. I will make you the same offer if we ever meet again. Not to the steel within your heart, but to Irene Pereira himself. In the tavern, they were able to meet Brett, and Judith and Irene introduced Kruver and Ruru to them. After that, they were referred to go to the Coliseum Land of Proof, the pride of Calyard Kingdom, one of the 5 Western kingdoms. It was already an exceptional Coliseum, but its level increases exponentially with the appearance of one swordsman recently, one of the Krono's 27th generation, Ilya Lindsay, the current champion of the Land of Proof. After watching Ilya's fight on the Coliseum, Irene was not happy about the result because he definitely felt something strange from Ilya. He can feel the dark energy similar to magic. That is why he decided that he wants to see Ilya for now. When Irene met Ilya, he felt that the dark energy surrounding him is getting thicker. So he told Ilya that he is precious to him, and she has once said to him after the assessment that she wouldn't be controlled by anyone else anymore. He said that it is not too late to stop. But Ilya's atmosphere suddenly changed. She said, "You are right. I still haven't been able to escape from the gazes of others. All because of those sons of beaches who deserve more than being ripped to shreds. I did my best again and again so that they could no longer slander my brother and my family, and the result is this aura that tells me that I walked in the correct path." Because of that, Irene said, "There are about 120 days left until you beat Ignet's record. Within that time, whatever it takes, I will pull you down from the champion spot. In the champion defense match held 4 months from now, I will win against you." Irene Pereira wins all of the matches and is now promoted to the king level and enters the Land of Glory. The Land of Opportunity no longer stops him. In the level before reaching the king level, the one who faced Irene is no other than his friend Judith. Judith was really determined to surpass Irene. At first, their match looks like they are on equal footing with one another. But in the end, Irene ends up victorious as he was able to defeat Judith in their last clash of swords. Before Irene can fight the champion, which is Ilya, he needs to defeat first the former champion of the Land of Proof. His opponent is Ricardo Pinto. From his father, the Swordmaster Harrison Pinto, he inherited Vulcanus' first numbering sword. It was expected that Ricardo Pinto would be a very skilled fighter as he was a former champion. But Irene was so determined to defeat Ilya. Irene emerges victorious at the end as he was able to break Vulcanus' sword during their fight. Now the remaining fight that Irene needs to finish is his battle with his friend Ilya, who succumbed to demonic energy. In that fight, Irene was able to obtain a new sword and progress his aura sword. He was able to defeat Ilya. After Ilya's defeat, she thinks that it is already over and her life is already meaningless, not knowing what to do next. Irene told him that he wanted them to make up again and offer his hand to Ilya. Ilya felt the warm feeling that Irene emits and they become close friends once again. But one mysterious guy in the audience, who was the one who was responsible for spreading the demonic energy, felt disappointed to see that Ilya become clearer from the demonic energy. He is starting to get annoyed at Irene, who is a human with anti-demonic energy. He is starting to question what kind of person he is. After that, the 6 of them traveled to the place of Kruver, in where they met the Drukali's former chief and spiritualist, one of the top 10 strongest in the continent, Karakim, who is also the father of Kruver. The person they want to meet at that time is the teacher of Kruver, who could tell the meaning of Irene's dream. But at that moment when they arrived at that place, Kruver's teacher had already passed away a few years ago, but he left a letter for Kruver with a riddle on it. And somewhat Kruver was able to resurrect his teacher Gruger for a short period of time. Gruger said that he will go back to where he belongs after he finishes what he came for. As a shaman, Gruger was able to look at Irene and what is the mysteries behind him. He said, "As Kruver has told me, I will be frank. I can interpret your dream. The man who you have been so curious about is your past self. It is you from a long time ago." After Kruver made all the preparations, they were brought to the mountain peak with the mark for the start of the ritual. They lied to the stone where their name was put in. Gruger said, "We will be meeting the man who has been disturbing Sir Irene Pereira's dream." The 6 of them lies down in the stone bed, including those 5 who are the closest friend of Irene. He wants to share them what is his dream about. Sir Gruger cast a spell and they were able to fall asleep and see behind the dreams of Irene. It started with 2 knights telling their lord that it is time to depart. Their lord also said that they needed to go. But as he walks by the village, the villagers are angry at him. They are murmuring. One citizen said, "He is leaving the territory when there is a demon? It is due to his child being possessed by a demon. I heard his child died. He might have turned into a demonoid." One of the angry old men shouted. The reason why the demons mobbed this place a few months ago is all because of him. You coward! You are leaving the territory so you can survive by yourself? One of the old men was crying. He looks injured while carrying the metal fork said, "Did you really bring the demons here? Did you really sell us off to the demons? Please say something." The Lord Karen Winker looks at him in the eyes. He said, "It seems like it was for my selfishness for wanting to leave this place quietly. I don't know if you will believe what I say, but I will tell you everything. He appeared a week ago." Karen Winker's wife looks so worried looking at their child. She said, "Honey, our baby isn't breathing." Karen Winker starts to question why is this happening. Then a demon clown suddenly appeared asking the couple if they want to save their child. The demon clown said, "Karen Winker, the child's life is in your hands. I will spare either your wife or child. Now choose." Karen Winker shouted, "What are you talking about? Why do I need to listen to such a ridiculous demand?" His wife was crying, shivering in fear while holding their child. The demon clown said, "Do you think it was a mere coincidence that the demons came to this territory? I cursed your child and brought the demons here. Accept your fate, Karen Winker. You just need to choose." Karen Winker was asking what is he talking about. Then, his wife suddenly hands him the child, and he asks where she is going. However, his wife runs towards the window, attempting to jump. Karen Winker cries, begging his wife to stop and not go near that window. His wife was attempting to jump. Karen Winker was crying and put down the child on the bed. He told his wife to wait and said that he will be the one to sacrifice himself. His wife smiled for the last time and told him to take care of their child. Then, she jumped out of the window. Karen Winker shouted, begging his wife to no do that, but it was already too late. He was so devastated after that the only thing he could do was bow down to the floor while regretting it. He shouted while crying in agony. But his child starts to breathe and cry. The demon clown carries their child and he says, "Oh my, oh my, that was against the rules. Sacrificing her life was your wife's decision and not a decision made by yourself. So that deal is off. It is time to make another choice." Karen Winker cries as he suffers from the hardship because of this demon clown. The demon clown offers a new bet. He says, "Do not worry too much. This time it will be a little bit easier. Now choose your child's life or the life of everyone in the territory." The Lord Karen Winker ended his story and he said, "That day, I lost both my wife and son. That was the best decision I could make." After hearing that his lord chooses the people of their territory rather than saving his child, the old man cried more and was somewhat regretful for blaming his lord. Karen Winker said, "The demon clown said that I am cursed. If I stay here, I don't know what more horrific things may happen. I won't ask you to help. However, don't stop me." Karen Winker leaves the territory that he owns, but the demon clown keeps following him. The demon clown said, "How is there no one following after you? They sent off their lord who has gone through so much for them. They do not even know how to be grateful, those bad people. Don't you just want to kill them? They will only understand your efforts and sadness once they lose their own families." Then the demon clown pops up in front of Karen Winker and he says, "So with that being said, I am going to offer you a new deal. Sign a contract with me. How about it? Sign it, become a demonoid, and slaughter all of them. You can toy with them as much as you want." But no matter how he bothers Karen Winker, this guy doesn't even put an ounce of interest in what he is saying. He said, "How cold. You are a lot of less fun than I thought. Did I choose the wrong person?" That is why the demon clown told him everything. He said, "If I knew this would happen, I should have gathered the demons and gone to the next territory." Karen Winker looks back at him and he asks, "What do you mean by gathering the demons?" The demon clown laughs and was happy to see that Karen Winker starts to look at him in the eye after hearing what he said. Karen Winker shouted, "Then the demons that mobbed the territory, and my child cursed was all your doing." The demon clown laughed and replied, "That is right. I did it. From the beginning, you weren't cursed." After hearing what the demon clown said, the world of Karen Winker starts to slow down, and everything seems to darken as he realizes what happened. His world turns around, as if everything has been plunged into darkness. He starts to ask if this demon clown was just fooling around with him from the start. He was in his lowest state of mind, asking the demon, "Why? Just why? Why did you do it? What did I do wrong? For what reason?" The demon smiled. He said, "Reason? A reason, huh? If you really want one, Then I was a little bored, and at that moment I saw you. It was like fate. Karen Winker falls to his knees as he tries to absorb everything the demon clown said. His life has become a game for this demonic figure. He is still asking what because he cannot believe that he lost everything because of that. The demon clown, on the other hand, smiled. He said, I am going to get on my next journey. It was fun thanks to you. If you want to see me, come to the peak of the mountains in the south. The demon laughs and tells him that he will see him later on and then vanish in the air. Karen Winker was kneeling and was crying from what he heard. He said, I won't forgive you. I am going to kill you. Wait for me there. Then he slowly stands up while his legs are still shaking. While fully determined to take revenge, he said, no matter how long it takes, I am going to find you. No matter what. Until such time that his hair starts to grow from his journey, but his face is still gloomy and expressionless. Then he bought a land far from his territory. The village head gladly welcomes him. The village head shakes his hand and says, welcome. We are not territorial, so stay comfortable. Ask questions if there is anything you don't know. Then Karen Winker goes to the land he bought. One of the villagers asks, village head, where did he come from? The village head replied, who knows? I don't think he is from around here though. Karen Winker walks towards the house and lot that he bought. In his mind, that is a relief. It doesn't seem like rumors have spread to this village. Good. I should develop my strength and find him. Karen Winker was training. The only thing he could do was continuously do his vertical slash. The villager who asked their village head to go takes a peek at Karen Winker who was doing his training. In his mind, ridiculous. I came to see him because I heard he has only been swinging his sword for half a year. But I know that look in his eyes isn't something you can easily get. He must have a story, a devastating one at that. While slashing his sword, he remembers those people who claimed to have heard rumors about him being possessed by a demon. Those individuals had insisted that he leave their place immediately. Those swordsmen whom he asks help to teach him some sword techniques, but told him that they are sorry because they cannot teach him anything. That is why all he can do is slash his sword vertically again and again. And while he was continuously practicing and slashing his sword, a black thing suddenly appeared. It was the evil spirits of those villagers saying, to think you were cursed by a demon. You disgusting bastard. Are you trying to disgrace us too? Get lost right now. But Karen Winker just slashes them down saying, I am going to kill you all. But another spirit of dead villagers appeared saying, it is all your fault. Atone for your sins, you demonic child. But he just slices them down with his sword and said the same thing. Then the one that made him shiver was when he heard his child and wife's voice. That dead spirit imitating his wife said, it was you. You killed your child and me. Why did you let me die? Why? But he raised his sword to thrust those spirits imitating his wife and son. And the sun starts to rise again. In his mind, it is morning again. How much time has passed? No, that is meaningless now. Hurry, let's train. They are still alive. I cannot rest. Then suddenly when he was aiming to slash again, a cute little girl appeared asking him if he was tired from practicing. Then that cute little girl gives him a flower. She says, here, I will give you this. Her father shouted at her. He said, Lola, what are you doing over there? Get away from there right now. Then Lola, this cute little child, runs toward her father and bids her goodbye to the swordmaster. Lola's father told her that she could not just enter into someone else's house. Lola told her father that she would not do it again. Then Lola asks her father what is wrong when she notices that he was shocked by what he saw. Her father tells her that the man is smiling while looking at the flower she gave. Looking at the flower he received from that little girl. Karen Winker felt a strange feeling. He starts to question his mind. What is this feeling? A somewhat familiar feeling. I know what it is. The unconditional devotion from my parents when I was young. The loyal support from the people who lived in my territory. My lovable wife and my son, who was the apple of my eye. These warm emotions that I felt in all of these moments. It has been a while since I have such a holistic focus on the sword. More time passed as he wielded his sword, practicing with full determination and focus to defeat the demon clown. Many seasons changed, and he also grew older, his beard starting to grow longer. When he starts to walk, continuing this path to eradicate the clown, the evil spirits representing his negative emotions start to rise up again, saying, the demon's child, What are you planning on doing again? You are running to save yourself again? You are an irresponsible coward." But at that time, Karen Winker didn't even waver from what they are saying, and he just stands in there. Then he said, "At first, I thought that the demon was the one that sent all of you. However, now I have realized that the one that sent you all, the one who was engulfed with negative feelings of hatred and anger, it was me." As he gains enlightenment, those spirits of illusion from his negative emotion vanish in the air. He was able to attain a sword that could slice down the demonic energy. He said, "Right now it is all right. I think I can move forward now. I can feel it. He is in front of my eyes." With that, Karen Winker rushes to where is the demon clown can be found. There he saw the demon clown playing with another victim from his evil schemes. The demon was shivering from the shock when he saw the man. He said, "You, Karen Winker, how are you?" Karen Winker was aiming to slash him down. He said, "You are still doing your wicked deeds. Things will no longer go the way you want." The demon clown was trying to counter his attack by trying to create a magic made up of darkness. But Karen Winker was already able to release a slash that slices him down. The demon clown was panicking, trying to run away from Karen Winker. In his mind, he sliced darkness. I cannot block his attacks. I need to run away. Karen Winker rushed towards the demon who was crawling away. He said, "You think I will let you run away?" But suddenly Karen Winker felt that he could not move his feet anymore. No matter what he do, he cannot move, and he only falls on his knees. He was kneeling, holding onto his sword, panting. He is asking, "Did I reach my physical limit? Why? Why now? Even though I made a sword that could cut darkness, I cannot punish that demon. How sad." As he starts to close his eyes while his life withers away, he could only think about his one wish. In his mind, it might be for nothing, but I will beg with my heart, no matter what, if my current mentality, my will, if it could be sent with someone else, if that could happen. With that, it ends the dream of Irene. Sir Gruger said, hundreds of years ago, in order to fight the demon clown who appeared, Karen Winker, the man who wielded the sword alone. The person who inherited that is you, Irene Pereira. After that, Irene told Ilya that he wanted to go to and find Ignet. He told him that at first, he was jealous of Ignet, thinking that Ignet possessed something that he didn't have. It was an embarrassing weak side of him, but now he felt that he can stand proudly with her. Irene asks, "I am not sure what changes it will bring you, but will you come with me?" After hearing that in Ilya's mind, "I know now. I was avoiding it. I don't have the confidence to see Ignet. I was running away from her because I was scared. I would crumble from fear. If I don't face it, then nothing will happen." With that, Ilya told Irene that he will go with him. Brett and Judith, on the other hand, bid their farewell to Irene, Ilya, Ruru, and the rest of the Drukali tribe, since they are going to go back to the Krono Swordsmanship Academy. But Judith and Brett were distancing themselves from one another because of the awkwardness after Brett confesses his feelings to Judith. Ruru, Ilya, and Irene stay in Drukali tribe for a month to train more before departing for their new journey. The sparring partner of Irene is Karakim, who is one of the strongest top 10. Then after a few months, Irene also bid his goodbye. Kruver said, "It is a shame that it is already time for you to leave." Irene said, "Kruver, you have to be well. Honestly, I am a little worried. I have decided what path I am going to take, but I am unsure if I will be able to do it well." Kruver said, "No, you will. Irene, you have a special power. You have the power to make your surroundings bright. The power to change those with you. It's you. You will be able to do it. If it is you, you will be able to change the world. The reason why I was able to stop my wandering of 17 years was thanks to you, my friend, my apprentice, my teacher. Irene, you are already my hero." Irene replied, "Thanks, Kruver. I will try hard. To be able to be called everyone's hero, I will do my best." Ilya smiled and said, "Then shall we go?" Then they left the Drukali tribe confidently and happy for their next trip. Now let's move on to the main story. Let's start the story with this random guy. He introduced himself and he said, "Hey, great to see you. The name is Johnson. I work as a coachman. I can act as a guide as long as you pay me. But this is not my real job. In reality, I am the leader of the group of bandits. Disguising as a coachman, I lure people away and loot them. Our method is very simple. First, I wait for a rich-looking person to hire me. Next, I use a believable excuse to take them near our hideout. and my subordinates, who are hiding there, start looting. What do you think? Perfect, right? Our methods never failed even once. Then a random guy appeared asking Johnson if he is there to hire for a coachman. But that guy is Irene, and with him are Ilya and Ruru. Johnson happily said, "Oh my, it was nice to meet you. I am Johnson." It was an honor to be able to serve such precious guests. But on the inside, Johnson was hiding his evil laugh. In his mind, another one who are like a lamb to slaughter. I will make sure to rob you of every penny you've got. We all know that this guy is courting death at this moment. Johnson was hired as the coachman for their carriage. Irene and Ilya were engaged in a happy conversation inside, but there was something on Johnson's mind. He laughs while shaking in excitement. In his mind, this is awesome. Such put-together outfits. An atmosphere full of elegance. There is no doubt they are the children of nobility. I will be able to mess around and feast for days from just this looting alone. Then they stop in the wilderness to rest. Johnson told Irene, "We will have to stay out here for the day." Irene replied, "In that case, we will need to light a fire first." Then Ilya pulls up her sword and told them that she would get the firewood. Hearing that, Johnson starts to question, "What? Geez, is she trying to chop a wood with her sword?" Johnson offers Ilya an axe. He said, "That sword might not work. Please move aside. I will chop it for you." But without hesitation, Ilya cut the tree in half with just one slash. Then Ilya releases multiple slashes that cut down the wood into thin pieces for them to create a fire. Johnson was left speechless while sweating from the spectacle he saw. Ilya asks, "About this thickness, it should work, right?" Johnson could only agree at Ilya. Then this cute little fella Ruru comes in and tells them that it is now her turn. And then she uses her power to lit up the wood for their campfire. She proudly said, "Irene, did you see that? I can use spirits now as well." Irene replied, "Ruru, that was mystic arts just now." But on the other hand, Johnson was confused as to why the cat is speaking. He was left standing frozen from shocked. He starts to question, "These brats, just who the hell are they?" The next day, Irene told Mr. Johnson to step back since they were going to have a sparring match. Irene told Ilya to be prepared since he is now going to attack. Johnson starts to question, "Sparring? Where the hell did he get the great sword from?" As he looked at the shining sword of Ilya and Irene, he was sweating in fear. In his mind, those are aura swords. Both of them are swordmasters. Then Ilya and Irene start their sparring session and, in every exchange, create a massive explosion. The ending creates a large crater on the ground. Ruru approaches them and angrily says, "Irene, you are too noisy. You just woke me up." Irene told Ruru that he was sorry about that. Johnson falls to the ground, kneeling while shivering in shock. In his mind, "I give up. Fighting them will end up killing us." And while continuing their path, they stumble into one of the inns. Irene said, "We can stay at this inn for the night." But Johnson starts sweating looking at the inn. In his mind, "Huh? This inn? But this inn is our hideout." Because of the strange action of Johnson, Irene asks him, "What is wrong? Is there a problem?" Johnson replied, "No. I will check if there is a vacant room, so please just wait for a while." He told Irene to wait. Johnson plans to go in first because he plans to stop his bandit underlings from coming out at all costs or they will be doomed. But Johnson was shocked when he heard the voice of the bandits blocking Irene and his group. The bandit said, "Oi, who are you guys? You are in our territory. From the looks of it, you seem like rich nobles. How about sharing some of the wealth with us commoners?" Then Johnson suddenly appeared shouting at his underlings. He said, "Oi, you son of a horse! All of you, get away from my customers." Johnson was still shivering while walking to one of the bandits. The bandit asks, "Hyungnim, what are you doing?" Johnson shouted at him, "Get the hell out of here right now." The bandit is whispering, "What are you trying to do, Hyungnim? Move!" Because this guy was hard-headed, Johnson punched him in the face. Johnson grabs his collar and shouted, "Get the freaking out of here if you don't want to die by my hands." But he softly whispers, "Quickly get out of here. Run away unless you all want to die." Those bandits left and followed Johnson, but to follow up his acting, he still shouted, "If I see you again, I will kill you." But the truth is he felt sorry for his underlings for beating them. Ruru's eyes were sparkling, saying that Johnson is cool. Ilya said, "You are amazing. You defeated those thugs." Johnson laughed and said that it was not a big deal. Ruru told him that he deserves a bonus, but Johnson was questioning what kind of bonus. Then Ruru gave him 2 golden mice as a bonus that makes Johnson shocked to see gold in his hand. Ruru said, "Keep up the good work. There is more for you if you do a good job." After that, they go to a restaurant to eat, and Johnson was like the Flash who was serving them well. He said, "I contacted the restaurant at the inn. I ordered only the finest food from the chef. I even prepared a special tuna steak for Ruru Nim." Ruru was quite shocked by the good food she got. Irene asks him, "Mr. Johnson, aren't you pushing yourself too hard?" Johnson replied, "Not at all. I, Johnson, shall continue to serve my clients to the best of my ability." A few days later, Johnson was sitting on the ground panting from all the works. He said that he cannot do this kind of work for too long, but still he smiled and laughed. He said, "Still, a bit more, and I can quit looting others for the rest of my life." Then he carries the sack of gold on his back. He said, "Awesome. How about we earn a bit more money?" But while walking, he saw that Ilya and Irene were sitting near each other. Irene asks, "How are you these days?" Ilya replied, "It is a bit better, but I still worry." Then Irene grabbed her hand, which made her blush. He said, "It is okay. Don't worry too much about it. Ignet might have felt like a great deal when we were young, but that won't be the case now. I bet it won't even be a big deal once you meet." Ilya asks, "Really? Do you think so?" Johnson, who was hiding looking at them, smiles. He said, "As I thought. So they are in that kind of relationship. The vibe is great. How about I watch a little more? They will definitely kiss, right?" But Irene suddenly stood up, which made even Ilya alarmed. He said, "Well, let's get up now. We need to leave early tomorrow." Hearing that made Johnson angry and disappointed. He said, "Huh? What? Holding hands? That's it. They got the great vibe going, and it just ends just like that." Then Johnson suddenly steps into something that made him fall. Irene saw Johnson and asks him if he is okay. Johnson told him that he was okay, but Ilya left them and said that she will go for a short walk. Looking at the situation, Johnson thinks that this is a great trouble. Johnson whispers at Irene. He asks, "By the way, are you not going to go after her?" Irene replied, "No, she has a lot on her mind these days, so she probably needs some time alone." Johnson was shocked to see that Irene, this packer, is so dull as hell. Then the day continues and Johnson serves them like he is the Flash. He said, "Please have a seat there while I make the preparations." But while walking inside the tavern, Irene heard one of the men talking. He said, "This dungeon is going to be amazing. I bet it will be the greatest one in 100 years. On top of that, the Holy Kingdom is joining the dungeon expedition." Hearing that also caught the interest of Ilya. One of the men asks, "The Holy Kingdom? But why?" The old man with black beard replied, "This is no ordinary dungeon. Not just its size, but apparently it is an ancient dungeon that was created at least during the times of the demonic Dragon King. Several treasures of great value are said to be buried there. That is why the Calvin Kingdom tried to conquer it quickly when they first discovered it. But they faced oppositions from their neighboring kingdoms. So, to avoid conflict between the 3 kingdoms, the Holy Kingdom deployed their Knight Order to mediate the issue." Then Irene asks, he said, "Excuse me, can I ask you something? Which Knight Order did the Holy Kingdom deploy?" The old man asks Irene if he is a swordsman, which he replied yes. The old man said, "In that case, you must have heard of them. The Black Knights led by Ignet Crescentia." These caught both the interest of Irene and Ilya. Irene asks, "Do you know if mercenaries are allowed to participate in that dungeon expedition?" The old man asks, "You look quite young. Will you be all right?" This time, the expedition is on a large scale, and the difficulty is also high, so I cannot guarantee your safety. Irene replied, "Thank you for your concern, but I will be fine." The old man looks at Irene in his mind. He has honest eyes. The atmosphere around him is warm but sturdy. I thought he was a child that didn't know anything about the world, but looking at him closely, I was wrong. The old man told Irene, "If you really want to go, head to Calvin. The attack force there is lacking, so they are recruiting mercenaries." Irene thanks the old man for the information he gives. A few days later in the city-state of Calvin, Ruru bids his goodbye to Johnson and Irene thanks him for his service. Johnson said, "Then I will get going now. Have a safe trip." Johnson looks at Irene and his crew and he suddenly comes into a realization. In his mind, I had a realization. There are a lot of powerful people who have yet to make themselves known. If I act up, I might end up dying from a single attack. I should be kind from now on. On the other hand, the vice commander of the Calvin Knights, Amira Shelton, was cursing and scratching her head from stress. She said, "Damn it, those Palanque and Labot bastards. To be exact, that dungeon was discovered on our territory. They are really determined since they are sending their best attack force. Labot's court mage, Perry Martins, Palanque's swordmaster, Sevian Virox, and on top of that, the Holy Kingdom is involved too. At this rate, all the loot from the dungeon will be taken by them. I need to recruit a good mercenary that is able to go head-to-head with them." The Knights of the Calvin Kingdom appeared and reported to their vice commander that the mercenaries who had applied for the expedition had arrived. She asks, "How are they? Any skilled ones?" But the knight was speechless and was shivering. Amira Shelton told them that it was fine and she would go personally to see them herself. She approached both Ilya and Irene, who just recently finished one sparring match. She shouted, "Hey, are you the mercenaries who applied for the expedition? I am Calvin's vice commander, Amira Shelton. I am going to test you right now." Ilya tries to introduce herself, but Amira stops her and she says, "Forget about the introductions. Don't waste time and show me your abilities." Ilya told her that she understood what she is trying to say. Then after she exhaled, a sudden burst in aura was released by Ilya that created a crack on the ground. And an explosion with a fast speed was seen by Amira, who was alarmed at the frightening battle speed of Ilya. Amira releases a frontal slash but is evaded, and Ilya blinks at the back of Amira, which made her alarm. Amira twists her body to turn and attack Ilya at the back, but she misses and suddenly Ilya disappears. She was cursing because she couldn't keep up with Ilya no matter what she does. Ilya suddenly pops up at her back. She was thinking that she can now capture Ilya, but Ilya suddenly disappears once again. The next thing that happens is Ilya appears in front of her and slashes her sword, and at that moment her sword is thrown away to the ground. Amira was amazed by that battle. She asks, "You, what is your name? Which kingdom are you from?" Ilya replied, "I am a Lindsay family knight from the Aiden Kingdom." Ilya Lindsay. That night after the battle audition, Amira Shelton was so happy that she was like on a cloud nine, continuously laughing. She said, "The skies are helping me. To think Ilya Lindsay is joining my side." And on top of that, she was also shocked to know that Ilya's comrade at that time was Irene, who introduced himself. The Irene Pereira, who became a swordmaster after defeating Ilya Lindsay. In her mind, if they both join the Calvin Kingdom as a mercenary, then we won't be lacking compared to other nations. But to think that Ilya Lindsay would join the dungeon expedition. Is it because of Ignet Crescentia? If she came here due to personal feelings, then she might negatively affect the expedition party. I need to observe Ilya Lindsay's behavior closely. Amira stops what she is doing and takes a sigh. She said, "Anyways, since I have settled the urgent matters, let's rest a little." But little did she know that Ruru was in there peeking at what she was doing. Ruru said, "Amira, what is that? Teach me too." Hearing that made Amira shout from fear that someone suddenly said something. She picks up her glasses. She said, "Aren't you Irene Pereira's cat? You are talking?" Ruru introduced herself. Since Amira is a person who really loves cats, she asks Ruru if she can pet her. Ruru replied, "Yeah, pet me away. But you need to teach me." Ruru said, "I like Amira because you look like one of my friends." Amira asks Ruru if she looks a lot like them. Ruru replied, "Not a lot, just a little. You look similar when you are angry. But before that, hurry up and teach me what you are doing right now." Amira said, "But since you are a cat, wouldn't it be difficult even if I teach you? Wouldn't it be hard with your paws?" Ruru told her that was not a problem. Then her body shines so bright and she transforms into his human form. She asks Amira, "These hands are okay, right?" Amira was amazed in her mind. "No way. I can feel it even though I am not a mage. Incredible magic power." Amira said, "Okay, I will teach you. But this hobby is a secret. I need to show others that I am strong and a cool vice commander." Ruru replied, "Don't worry, I am good at keeping secrets." A few days later in the Labot territory, Amira said, "There is still time before the expedition starts, so please freely enjoy your time here. There will be a banquet tomorrow night with all the members of the expedition party, so don't forget and make sure you come. Irene replied that he understood. While patting Ruru, Amira also told her that she needed to come too. She said, could you perhaps come in your other form? I will prepare a dress too. Ruru replied, my other form? Okay. Amira told them that she would see them at the banquet. The night after that, Irene was outside sitting while meditating. In his mind, my combative spirit was what controlled the fire within me up until now. A combative spirit that is very similar to the anger I feel because of my jealousy towards Ignet. A combative spirit to overcome the will of the man in my dreams, Karen, but I no longer want to control the fire inside my heart with a combative spirit. Let's think about my last realization from my previous life. The will that started from regret and sorrow, my goodwill that is directed toward the world. I am going to move forward in my own way. After his meditation, Irene said, how long do you plan on watching me? The man was alarmed after Irene noticed him. He asked, did you know? When did you realize it? Irene told him that it had been 20 minutes since he noticed him. The man said, you have good senses. I was trying my best to conceal my presence too. Are you a swordsman or a mage? Irene told him that he was a swordsman. The man said, I don't recognize you. What country are you affiliated with? Aaron replied, I am a mercenary that is affiliated with Calvin. The man replied, Calvin, huh? Okay, I will be going now. Sorry that I bothered you. Then the man walks away from Irene. While walking away, he looks back at Irene. In his mind, to think his senses are sharp enough to notice my presence even in his deep meditation. He is not your average boy. I need to win him over to our side during the dungeon expedition. When this guy walks back to the inn, the knights greeted him as Sir Virox. This guy was actually Palank's best knight, Swordmaster Sir Virox. He told his man, there is something I need you to do. Look into the personnel of Calvin's expedition party right now and then report back to me. After that, one of his men gives him the list of personnel for Calvin's dungeon expedition. Sir Virox praises the man for his good work. While watching the papers, there is someone that caught his interest. He said, oh, Ilya Lindsay? Who would have thought that I would see her name here? There is only one reason that the daughter of the Lindsay family would participate in a dungeon expedition. It was Ignet Crescentia. Even though she is a swordmaster, it seems that she is still a child. She is acting on her emotions. Did her loss at the Land of Proof affect her heart? No, wait! If it is the Land of Proof, the champion who defeated Ilya Lindsay was one of her peers at the Swordsmanship Academy. I had heard the two of them left to travel together. Yeah, I know he was an unusual guy. So it is you, the blonde-haired holy swordsman, Irene Pereira. This dungeon expedition is going to be very interesting. The next day in the banquet hall, the commander of the Calvin Knights, Gregory Griffin, asks Amira if two swordsmasters joined their army. Amira replied, yes, you can look forward to meeting them. Sir Gregory asks, anyway, what happened to the Holy Kingdom? Amira told him that they had not arrived at the banquet hall yet. Amira said, the fact that they aren't going to make an appearance at the banquet where all the kingdoms gathered together for the first time means that they intend to show off their power. Sir Gregory laughed and replied, Amira, don't think too much about it. Then the court mage of Labat, Perry Martins, approaches them. He said, Sir Gregory, it has been a while. Have you been well? Then Perry Martins' body lightens up, signs that he is exuding magical power. He said, I heard some rumors that you were in a hurry to get support and ended up hiring some mercenaries. Sir Gregory also exudes aura in his body and replies, don't worry, they won't hinder the expedition party. Then Sir Virox appeared and he said, Perry, that's enough. This is a place where we have come together to be in harmony. Perry replied, pretending to be kind. What are you scheming again? Then Ilya and Aaron appeared, and of course the cute little Ruru, who was in dress and in bouncy sandals that were prepared by Amira. Sir Gregory asks, oh, Amira, is that them? The mercenaries who are joining us. While Ruru was passing by Perry, he felt an intense magical power that made him shocked. In his mind, that is some incredible magical power. It is a huge amount of magical energy that is similar to a grand mage. Plus, the horns and wings. That girl, who is she? Amira was happy because of the reaction of Perry in her mind. As expected, they are focused on Ruru. How is that? You cannot ignore Calvin's attack force now, huh? But as they continue to walk at the banquet, Irene hears some murmuring about Ilya. One man said, "Hey, it is her, right? I am certain it is Ilya Lindsay." One man replied, "Wow, amazing. Did she come here because of Ignet? Does she plan to avenge her brother? Is she that obsessed?" Irene looks at Ilya and wonders if his friend is okay because she was silent the whole time. Then Ilya said, "Fact this again." Both Irene and Ruru were shocked to hear Ilya swore for the first time. Ilya shouted, "Seriously, they don't leave you alone. So freaking annoying." Fact it. Everyone was shocked to hear that, including Irene, who was speechless looking at her. But before that, Judith told Ilya that she was really frustrated. Ilya asked her, "What does she meant?" Judith looked at her. She said, "Why live bothered by that? Just ignore their cynical remarks, since they will react the same way no matter what you do." Judith smiled and said, "There is no need to impress them. Just swear at them instead. Here, repeat what I say." Judith teaches her the glaring posts and teaches Ilya the F word. Judith said, "Hurry, you will feel better. This is a lot better than keeping everything to yourself." But Ilya remains silent. Ilya slowly says the F word at a low volume, but Judith tells her to go louder, which Ilya followed, and they repeat it again and again. Ilya smiled and said, "It is not as bad as I thought. Why are you just standing there? Let's go and sit down." Irene and Ruru could only follow what Ilya said and was still shocked of her sudden change of behavior. Sir Gregory laughed and said, "What a vigor." Then the MC announced something in the banquet hall. He said, "Now, the commander of the Calvin Knights will give his greetings." Sir Gregory said at the banquet, "Thank you to all of you who are here. From tonight's gathering, let us make this a successful dungeon expedition." But while Sir Gregory was saying his greeting, a sudden vibration of the land happened that made everyone shocked, including Ruru, who noticed it. Then a sudden portal appeared in the middle of the banquet that made everyone alarmed. Then the first ones that go out in the portal are Anya, Sir George, and the rest of the men in armor suit. Amira was also shocked at the sudden appearance of these people. In his mind, that armor, Avelius, the Holy Kingdom's Black Knights. Ilya's eyes started to widen when she saw a silhouette of a woman who was walking out from the portal. Then her expression starts to darken to see the woman who she hates the most and makes his brother suffer. It was Ignet Crescentia. George scolded Anya. He said, "You should have created the portal outside the hall, not inside it. You were trying not to waste your mystic powers, weren't you?" Anya replied, "It was a mistake. I was going to make it outside." Ignet approaches Sir Gregory. She says, "The respectable commander of the Calvin Knights, Sir Gregory Griffin. Due to my subordinate's mistake, we have disrespected you. I sincerely apologize for offending you." Sir Gregory said, "Please don't worry. I didn't mind it since I saw a rare spectacle." Ignet told Sir Gregory, "Although it may be rude, the whole order is exhausted as we came here as soon as our previous mission had been completed. If it is all right with you, may we head into our room and rest first?" Sir Gregory replied, "I didn't know you had a previous mission. I will send someone to guide you to your quarters." But there was someone that caught Ignet's attention, so she excused herself for a second. Amira thinks that it smells like trouble since she is going in the direction where Ilya is sitting. Everyone was shocked to know who the person she approached to, including Ilya and the other important guests. She was actually trying to greet Aaron. Ignet said, "You have changed in the time I haven't seen you." Irene Pereira. Looking at the situation, Amira starts to ask in her mind, why isn't Ilya Lindsay but Irene Pereira that she went to? Even Sir Virok starts to question, he has changed a lot. Do they know each other? Irene stands up and said, "It has been a while, Ignet." Ignet looks down at Irene and releases a strong pressure. She said, "To think you changed so much so quickly. Tell me, what has happened?" The pressure was so intense that even Amira, who was a vice commander level, was affected by that. But on the other hand, Irene remains calm. Sir Gregory looks at Irene in his mind. I can feel her energy from over here too. A ferocious vigor. Irene is right in front of her, but he isn't flinching at all. He is stronger than I thought. Irene didn't say anything and just looks at Ignet. Ignet said, "Are you not going to tell me? Well, that is fine." She leaves and says, "I will watch you more closely from now on." Irene and Ilya were silent the whole time. Ilya seems to become gloomy after she leaves. She is affected by the actions of Ignet because she didn't even glance at her. Irene looks at his friend worrying about her. Anya approached Ruru and greeted her. She said, You are Ruru, right? It is me, Anya. I missed you, Ruru. How did you change into that form? Ruru didn't say anything and snobs at Anya. She said, I am not talking to you. Anya, who was shocked of Ruru's response, asks why. Ruru angrily shouted, You and Ignet bothered Aaron. Anya was shocked and replied, Huh? Anya never did that. Ruru said, What do you mean? You opened the portal and brought Ignet and bothered Irene. You don't remember. Anya remains silent. In her mind, oh that. What should I do? Ruru is Anya's first friend. Anya doesn't want to fight with Ruru. Anya told Ruru that she was sorry and she won't do it anymore. Ruru replied, Whatever. I am still angry. Anya asks, What should Anya do to make Ruru not angry? Ruru replied, I don't know. Think about it until the next time we meet. Anya was saddened that her first friend was angry at her. Poor Anya. She said, Okay, I will think about it until Ruru isn't angry anymore. George told Anya that they need to go now, but Anya falls to the ground saying that she is screwed now. George told Anya to get up. George looks at Aaron. In his mind, has it been 18 months? So the rumors that he had become a swordmaster are true. What an incredible rate of growth. He is insane. After the banquet, the sun starts to go down. He starts to think deeply about what happened and he summons his sword. In his mind, unlike before, I can stand in front of Ignet without trembling. To be honest, it felt great, but I felt it at the same time that I was still lacking a lot. In order to accomplish my will, to make my ideals become reality, to make sure my dreams don't stay as just dreams, I am going to do my best. Aaron was panting from the continuous slashes he made while thinking about his aspirations, but Ilya, on the other hand, was also thinking about what happened while looking at the sky. A few days later, all of the soldiers gathered in one area for the orientation of their dungeon expedition. The one who is orienting them is Amira. Amira said, All right, before we head to the dungeon, I will brief you all on the expedition. The dungeon we will be going to has 2 entrances. So the expedition part will be split into 2 teams which will raid both sides at the same time. Expedition Team 1 will be made up of Labat, Palenque, and Calvin. Our commander will be Sir Perry Martins. Expedition Team 2 will be made up of all members of the Black Knights. Their commander will be the commander of the Black Knights, Ignet Crescentia. Sir Virox, on the other hand, has a dark and gloomy aura, like he is carrying something in his mind. So one soldier whispers and asks, Hey, what is wrong with Sir Virox's expression? The soldier replied, You didn't hear? 4 days ago, there was a meeting where they were deciding on the commanders for the expedition teams. Ignet made it clear that she wanted that position, however Sir Virox was very against it, and in the end, their argument turned into a spar. The soldier asks what is the result. The other soldier replied, It was miserable. It ended with Ignet's overwhelming victory. The difference in strength was enormous. Sir Perry Martins believes that he is currently at an advantage compared to the Palenque, but he acknowledges that he still faces a hindrance in his plan for the final looting. In his mind, Sevian Virox, that guy, he acted out and just reinforced the decision. Anyways, as long as Ignet is here, competing against the Holy Kingdom will be too much for us. I need to win against Palenque and Calvin. Judging from Sevian's condition, I don't need to worry about Palenque. The problem is those guys from Calvin. Now they're at the dungeon's first entrance, led by Sir Perry Martins. Amira was shaking while they were still outside. She asked Sir Gregory if they are going in right now. Sir Gregory laughed and said, Amira, calm down. You are the vice commander, so you shouldn't show them that you are nervous. Sir Perry Martins shouted, Expedition Team 1 is entering. Then Sir Perry Martins starts to enter slowly in the dark entrance of the dungeon. But as he walked slowly inside, the soldiers behind him started to disappear and he was only left inside of the darkness. He said, Huh? Is it a trial? I knew it wasn't going to be a normal dungeon, but to think it would turn out to be an ancient temple. While walking deeply, he thinks about how to overcome this trial. In his mind, the strange phenomenon that appears within an ancient temple. The trials. Those who enter the temple will face a trial given by God. What you need to do in the sudden darkness is to not be swept away by the endless amount of doubt and anxiety. You need to confidently walk your own path. But those who are anxious are engulfed by darkness and lose the path at that moment and destroy themselves. We are going to have a lot of soldiers who will be engulfed by this darkness at the beginning. On the other hand, Sir Sevian Virox experienced the same and started to question if this was a god trial. Then he suddenly noticed that he was in the middle of a war with dead bodies of soldiers on the ground. Then some soldiers suddenly came in running, which he slashes down and turns out just to be an air of illusion. In his mind, I need to get a hold of myself. The Civil War ended 30 years ago. This is not real. It is an illusion. Don't be swept away by the darkness. I need to strengthen my resolve and move forward. It seems like that is the exit. Then when he came out from the darkness, he saw Perry Martins standing and waiting. He said, "Perry, it seems like you made it." Then I am the second? Then someone suddenly said, "Oh, another person has come." Hearing that made Sir Virox starts to question, "What? Did someone else arrive before me?" The one who says a while ago is actually Ruru, who looks disappointed because the one who come out in the trial of God is not Aaron. Sir Virox was so shocked that he started to question in his mind, Ilya Lindsay. How did she get here faster than me? Sir Perry looks at him. In his mind, he looks so speechless. I understand what you are thinking, Sevian, since I was also very shocked. To think that the first person to pass the trial was Ilya Lindsay, the one whose mind is in the most disarray. That day, I saw it properly. At the hall, Ilya Lindsay was completely ignored by Ignet. She seemed really shaken. Did she have a change of heart? Then the number of soldiers who passed the God of Trials starts to rise. But out of the three kingdoms, the one that was greatly affected by it is the Calvin kingdom. Amira said, "A lot of time has passed, but less than half of our group has made it out." Sir Gregory observes the situation, and his soldiers start to lose morale, making it difficult to continue. In his mind, this is not great. I expected as much, but to think the difference compared to other kingdoms is this large. However, what is even more unexpected is that Irene Pereira has yet to come out. I thought he would be the first person to pass the trial. Sir Perry calls out Sir Gregory. He says, "Gregory, we cannot wait any longer. We need to get going now. It is a trial given by the merciful God, so those who are engulfed by darkness will not be gravely injured." Sir Gregory replied, "I have no choice. I can no longer hinder the party." Then someone suddenly said, "Let's believe in them a little longer." When Sir Perry looks back, he was confused to see that it was Ilya Lindsay. Sevian Virox asks, "Miss Lindsay, what do you mean?" Ilya replied, "I am saying we should trust them and wait a little longer. Isn't the main point of this trial to be able to conquer all doubt, anxiety, and distrust with belief and trust?" She added, "I think that is not only about the trust in yourself, but the trust of others is also needed." Sir Perry said, "That is a great opinion, however, we cannot delay time any further." Then some soldier who was waiting at the gate shouted that someone is coming out. The soldiers are shouting that the one who is heading out is Irene Pereira. Aaron was holding his sword that was shining while he said, "I am sorry. I am a little late. There was a situation inside." Sir Perry cannot believe that Aaron was able to come out. And the best part is that all of the soldiers that were trapped in the trial were with Irene. 2 hours ago, before the appearance of Irene and the soldiers, one soldier was panicking and shouting, "What? I can't see anything. Where is everyone? Can you not hear me?" Then he slipped and fell. He was asking someone to not abandon him. He stood up and ran faster, but the more he ran, the more he sank deeper into the dark water. Then he saw a light, and at that moment he thought he was saved. In his mind, "But what is this sensation? I feel more peaceful when I get closer to the light. It is warm and reassuring. What is this light?" And that light was actually from the sword of Irene, who offered him help. He told Sir Gregory that is how all of them were able to come out of the darkness. Amira was also shocked to hear that. She said, "Amazing. To think he was able to intervene in the god's trial. Is that even possible?" But Amira was scolded by Sir Gregory because she was too loud. Sir Gregory looks at Irene. In his mind, "I have never heard of a human that was able to intervene in the god's trial. That boy is special. An aura that lightens up the surroundings. It is an energy that I have never felt from another swordmaster." He also looks at Perry Martins. In his mind, Perry looks annoyed. Since a boy who is much younger than him did something amazing, as the commander, his pride should be hurt. But you have no choice but to admit it. The party is centered around Irene Pereira. Sir Perry Martins is the commander. He shouted, "Everyone, get ready quickly. We will resume the expedition." Sir Virox warns the soldiers that they don't have an idea on what creatures might pop up, so he tells them to be careful while they are moving forward. and their battle with the monster in the dungeon started with Sir Perry eradicating the monsters. Golems appeared as their enemies. Perry Martins shouted, "A large number of golems at the front line. Everyone, into position. All troops, aim your attacks towards the front line." Then all of the magicians cast a fire spell that pushes the golems away. Perry cast a spinning light spell and threw it in the heads of the golems that killed them instantly. Sir Virox also releases an upward slash that destroys the upper body of the golem. He shouted, "Destroy the red stones on their heads and obliterate the golems." Irene and Ilya also were doing their jobs in exterminating the golems, and they were able to slice them into small pieces. Perry Martins asks the soldier if everyone is all right. The soldiers told him that everyone was safe and there were no casualties. Sir Perry told them that it was a good sign and they can now continue advancing their journey. But as they walked forward, Perry Martins felt something strange. In his mind, "With this, we have cleared all 5 battles safely. We are cruising through, but why? Why do I keep having strange feelings?" But as they continued to walk, he felt an intense fear and he was shivering like he felt something down his spine. They saw a pile of skeletons of humans. He is asking, "What is that?" They saw some sort of ritual place that was full of bones. Everyone was panicking. They are shouting, "What on earth is this place? What the hell happened here?" Even Irene, Ilya, and Ruru felt something strange in the place. The soldiers start to panic in fear. They shouted, "They are all human skeletons. No, this is ominous. We need to get out of here." Sevian Virox shouted, "Everyone, be quiet. Don't be distressed. We can't spread anxiety." But suddenly all of them heard an ominous laugh and felt a strong energy that even a swordmaster Sevian Virox made shiver and sweating from fear. A dark portal appeared and someone slowly pops up with his long nails peeking at them. It was actually the clown demon that appeared. Perry and Sevian were sweating and insisted that there was no way it was possible for it to happen. The demon clown smiled and said, "To think you came in here on your own feet. Thanks for making it easier for me. For that, I will give you the gift of death." Irene's light aura, on the other hand, starts to shine brighter seeing that demon clown. The clown demon laughs and laughs looking at their face, who was in constant fear. He was exuding a demonic aura at them. Sir Sevian Virox, still in fear and freezing looking at the clown demon, said, "I thought all the demons had vanished. Just how?" Just by facing this high-ranking demon, everyone could sense its evil. Evil is the term called in this verse, as the dark energy released by this demon could cause extreme fear that can make someone freeze. That dark energy spread throughout the party in an instant. They felt extreme fear and anxiety, and they became engulfed by all types of negative emotions. With one move of the finger of this clown demon, the soldiers flew towards him. Sir Virox could only shout since he could not still move from the influence of evil. The clown demon laughs and starts to torment them. He cast a spell and used it on one of the soldiers that made it wrap his body in a dark fabric. That man shouted in fear, asking Sir Virox to help him. The clown demon got annoyed at the soldier who asked for help from Sir Virox. He said, "Hey, I own you, so who are you talking to?" Then he flicks his finger, and the next thing that happens is that the soldier becomes headless and one head comes flying with a bent helmet from the magic of the demon clown. The man on his side starts to shout to see that his comrade died like that. The clown demon laughs while clapping his hand and moving his feet from joy. He said, "A magic that can rip off a head. Isn't it amazing? All right, now all of you clap." The clown demon continuously laughs ominously, but on the other hand, Sir Virox's face shows that he is still in fear and starts to lose hope because the one who was tormented by this clown demon is the soldiers under him. In his mind, even though my valuable soldiers are being taken away, even though they are being killed mercilessly in front of me, I cannot move at all. The ferocity of the evil that the clown demon was exuding made everyone in the party freeze. In this hopeless situation where everyone's movement were restricted, one person started charging at the demon clown. His name was Irene Pereira. Even the clown demon was alarmed to see that Irene was able to move and started to run at him, summoning his great sword that exudes light. Irene still runs toward the clown demon, aiming to slash him down. Sir Virox, who was watching, wants to ask him, "Irene Pereira, just how? How can you charge at the clown demon without hesitation?" The clown demon laughs as he plans to make the Palanque soldier his meat shield. He said, "Stop. If you don't, then I am going to kill them all." But Irene never falters in his scheme as he continues to charge at the clown demon. This annoyed the clown demon, and with a flick of his finger, he threw all of the soldiers towards Irene. He was able to evade, but those guys hit the ground. The soldiers were screaming as they were thrown away like they were some sort of balls, while he was charging at the demon. What Irene wants to say is, I am sorry. I understand that my actions right now are endangering the lives of the expedition party. I might be giving their families and friends irreplaceable scars. All their anger and hatred might be directed at me, but I won't disregard that. I am moving forward with the determination to face this responsibility. In front of this wicked demon, I will not hesitate. When Irene was approaching the clown demon, this evil being casts dark magic directly targets Irene, a large ball of dark energy. But Irene didn't waver from rushing to this guy and did not hesitate aiming to slash him. The demon releases that dark magic, but Irene was able to cut that magic and hit the clown demon, who was barely able to evade that attack. At that slash, Irene was able to hit him in his palm. The demon shouted in pain, but he still could not believe at what happened. In his mind, it is impossible. A sword that cut darkness? The clown demon, who was annoyed, cast another spell. He shouted, "You bastard! Fine! As you wish, I will kill them all." Irene looks behind, alarmed to see that the soldiers who were under the captive control of the clown demon were now being targeted by a new magic dark spikes aimed at their heads. The soldiers pleaded for help, their desperate eyes reflecting the direness of their situation. Ruru transforms into her human form and casts a barrier that blocks all of the magic spikes. She told Irene to leave the soldiers to her. Irene thanks Ruru for her support. Then Irene continues to run towards the clown demon, in which this evil creature casts a barrier spell to protect himself from Irene. While the clown demon embedded itself in a barrier to protect against Irene's attacks, Irene didn't hesitate and continued to unleash a barrage of continuous assaults on the demon's defensive shield. While trying to defend itself, the clown demon began to recollect something from its past. In his mind, this feels familiar. Yeah, I have definitely seen that sword before. But when? Where was it? Who the hell are you? The Commander Perry Martins was doing his best to escape from evil. He said, "The evil is gradually getting weaker. I can move a little now." But Ilya suddenly pops up running. She said, "It is not over yet. We need to quickly go and help Irene." Sir Perry was shocked, in his mind, Ilya Lindsay, to think she overcame the evil so quickly. Because of that, Sir Perry and Sir Virox were doing their best to move and escape from the bind of evil. With the continuous slashes of Irene, he managed to break through the barrier of the clown demon. His sword gleamed brighter as he approached, taking aim to slash at the back of the demon. As he was approaching, the clown demon laughed at him. The clown demon said, "I remembered now. So it was you, Karen Winker. It was you." Then he released a strong dark magic all over the area, causing even Irene to be alarmed. Then a sudden ball of light appeared, and the one who was at it was a woman standing holding a sword. Both the clown demon and Irene just watch it as it grows bigger and bigger. The one who was holding that ball of light with the tip of her sword was actually Ignet Crescentia, and the one who was casting is Anya. Anya was crying while casting the magic. She said Anya used up everything she had saved up for 3 years. Then Ignet pointed her sword at the clown demon and said, "Go." Then that large ball of magical light was released and everything was destroyed on its way. It hit the clown demon and he shouted in pain as his body starts to crack down into pieces. After that, the combined attack of both Ignet and Anya created a large crater on the ground, bearing witness to the destructive power unleashed. Irene, panting from his relentless assault on the clown demon a while ago, surveyed the aftermath. On the other hand, all that remained of the clown demon was nothing but his crumbled body and dark liquid on the ground. Sir Virox, who was amazed by that attack, said, "Wow, that was remarkable. Defeating that demon in one go. Really, it was an unbelievable power." Sir George, together with the other Black Knights, hurriedly ran towards their captain, asking her if she is all right, but Ignet told everyone to halt since she noticed something strange. The dark liquid left on the ground from the previous attack began to compress once again, slowly forming the demon clown. Despite the regeneration, the demon clown remained in agony. He communicated with them, expressing that the attack had been too extreme. The demon clown's body reverted to its original shape, and with a shout, he unleashed a powerful surge of dark magic energy. Ignet shouted, "It is dangerous. Everyone, get back." Then both Ignet and Irene didn't hesitate and rushed towards the clown demon who they thought was trying to escape. While Ignet and Irene were running aiming to gang up, the demon clown informed them that it was time to bid farewell. With that, he crumbled the magical stone in his hand. A dark circle of energy emerged, and the one closest at that time was Irene. They were all alarmed, and all of them felt the dark energy spreading throughout the entire area. The next thing that happens is Karen Winker is in the dark area holding his great sword. In his mind, where is this place? I cannot see anything. How much time has passed? I was sure I was chasing a demon. Then he saw a bright light that made him question, what is that light? In that light, Irene appeared and called Karen Winker. Karen Winker was alarmed to hear his name from a random person he didn't know. Karen Winker asks, "Who are you? How do you know my name?" Irene replied, "With the help of a comrade, I have seen memories from a past life. It might be hard to believe." "Karen Winker, you are my previous life." Karen Winker was shocked to hear that. He said, "Previous life? What does that mean? In that case, I must be dead." Irene didn't reply and stayed silent. Realizing the truth, Karen Winker's face began to show signs of sadness. Karen Winker said, "I have wandered the world for a long time, but suddenly, I could see nothing. The village I lived in, the castle I visited, the cities, and my homeland Gosco." Irene said, "Your homeland disappeared hundreds of years ago. Your family, your people, your descendants, they are all gone now. However, the ones to protect still exist." Then Irene summons the sword of light that can cut down the darkness that makes Karen Winker shock. Karen Winker noticed a burning flame of light within Irene. It reflected his unwavering will, reminiscent of the past dedication he had shown during years of continuous sword training, slashing down again and again. Karen Winker said, "To think someone with the same purpose as me, in such a fine young man." Karen Winker touched Irene's sword and assured him that it was okay to rest now, expressing his trust and leaving everything in his hands. Then Karen Winker vanished like he was being absorbed by the sword of light of Irene Pereira. Irene felt that the sword is completely different from before, that the sword feels like a part of his body. Then Irene goes back into reality, slashing down the dark space that was created by the clown demon. The clown demon was alarmed about the sudden appearance of Irene in the space he created. The clown demon said, "No, how did you enter this space quickly?" Irene asks Karen Winker, who was in his sword, to lend him his strength, then his great sword shines brighter compared to before. The clown demon said, "Wait, hold on, calm down and listen to me." Irene told the clown demon that he had no interest in hearing any story that came out of his mouth. The clown demon was sweating, thinking of ways to buy time and escape. He said, "Your comrades are all sealed within me. Don't you want to save them? Your chances of winning against me aren't that high. If you lose, your comrades might remain sealed within me forever. You should think carefully." Irene remains silent after hearing that. In the clown demon's mind, is he hesitating? You humans are all the same, just a bit longer. Then suddenly Irene asks the demon if buying time benefits him. The clown demon's eyes start to widen, knowing that his schemes were spotted by Irene. He asks him, how did he know? Irene said, "Still using vile methods, I see, but it won't work on me." Then a sudden crack appears again. The one who came out from that crack was Ignet Crescentia. The clown demon starts to panic, realizing that of all people, the woman who is a threat to him appeared. Ignet cannot believe that Irene appeared first, so she asks, "Are you Irene Pereira? How long have you been here? Speak. How did you reach the demon before me?" Irene didn't say anything. In Ignet's mind, this guy is still weaker than me. That fact hasn't changed. But how did he manage to reach the source of magic first? Then the barrier started to swirl when another person tries to thrust her sword in. It was Ilya. Ignet looks at Ilya. She said, "Ilya Lindsay? Even George, the vice captain of the Black Knights, couldn't penetrate this darkness. How did you overcome it?" Ilya glares at her, first thinking that she was underestimated by this woman. Ilya shouted, "What the hell are you talking about? Why wouldn't I be able to?" Ignet was shocked that she was being shouted at by this girl. She asks, "What did you say?" But since there is an important matter, she told Ilya that she will just ask questions later. She said, "First, we must finish off that disgusting creature. These three strongest are now going to fight this evil demon clown who made Irene's predecessor suffer. They emit different auras, but they have the same goal, which is to beat this demon. The final battle is about to start." The three of them rushed towards the clown demon. Ignet said, "We cannot give him an opening. Keep attacking him together." The clown demon was sweating because he knew that he was in a pinch as he was trapped by three strong swordmasters. The demon clown had gone wild and shouted, "I cannot let you leave safely after killing me." Then he tore off his mask that was stuck onto his face. Ilya and Aaron were shocked to see that this demon tore off his mask. The demon's eyes start to shine brighter while glaring at them. He shouted, "All of you will die here." Aaron and Ilya stop from running as they notice that this demon clown is self-destructing himself. The body of the clown demon starts to explode, approaching them. Irene knows that they cannot dodge that large explosion, but Ignet suddenly moves towards them and told them to step aside. Ignet used her sword to block that large explosion. The dark magic barrier that the clown demon creates starts to crack. The massive explosion completely destroyed the black barrier. Ignet was able to successfully block that attack, and there were no casualties. Her armor was already in tatters, and she was barely standing after receiving that strong attack. Both Anya and George run to their commander after the black magic barrier breaks. Irene looks at him and asks, "Ignet, why did you do that?" While slowly closing her eyes, she replied, "I don't know, you bastards." Then she completely fell to the ground and lost consciousness. As she falls into a deep slumber, she starts to ask, "What is this? I cannot see anything. Huh? This place." She goes back to the time when she was still young. The children ask Ignet, "What? Really? Then we can eat 2 meals a day now?" The young Ignet proudly replies, "Of course. I got work from Grandpa Jack. I will make it so you can even eat 3 meals a day now." The children were happy to hear that saying Ignet is the best. When Ignet goes to the old man's store, she asks, "What? You cannot give me work anymore?" The old man replied, "Yes, some looters came by yesterday and robbed the store again. Our store cannot operate anymore." Ignet wants to beg for a job, but there is nothing she can do. In her mind, this is bad. Because of the civil war, there is less and less work. At this rate, it will be impossible to take care of everyone. That night, Ignet looks at the letter given to her by some man. That man was actually a knight who gave her a recommendation letter. At that time, the knight said, "You have skill as a swordsman. This is a letter of recommendation for the Krono Swordsmanship Academy. If you become a talented swordsman, you will be able to make a lot of money to take care of all of your friends. Think about it." With that, Ignet was fully determined to enter the academy. The day after that, Ignet bids her farewell to all of her friends. The little girl cried and hugged her. She said, "No, can't you stay here? I don't want to be apart from you." Ignet told her to wait for 1 year and that she will get stronger in no time and will come back. The little girl asks, "Really? Do you promise?" Ignet replied, "Of course. I will come back as soon as possible." And she enters the Krono Swordsmanship Academy. On one sparring session, Ignet emerges as the winner. The students were murmuring, "This makes no sense. She became an expert in just 1 year. She is a monster." Ignet clenched her fist. In her mind, "Nice, with this much, I can go back now." But when she returned to her village, she was not welcomed by her friends, and there was nothing left. The entire village had been destroyed. She starts to ask, "The village is in ruins? Where did the children all go?" Then suddenly Oliver calls her, who was also shocked to see one of his childhood friends. Oliver told her everything that happened in the village while she was gone. Ignet said, "I see. So that is what happened to the kids who weren't here." Oliver replied, "Yeah, they were taken or died." Ignet looked at the thing in the palm of her hand. She starts to feel despair. In her mind, "I am powerless. What have I done all this for?" Seeing the condition of his friend, Oliver asks Ignet if she is okay. Ignet looks at his clothes of Oliver and she says, "Those clothes look new. Where did you get them?" Oliver was quite in panic and didn't know what to say. Ignet asks, "Did you steal them?" Oliver replied, "To survive, we have no choice." Ignet told him that she understood the situation. In Ignet's mind, "I don't want to blame the kids. They must have suffered such unbearably agonizing lives." So she asks, "We won't be able to return to how things were, right?" Oliver replied, "Yes." Then Ignet starts to walk away. She said, "All right, live a good life. I will go now." As she walked away, she could only clench her fist because of anger. In her mind, if they had lived in a better environment than now, they definitely wouldn't have changed. If only I could change the world and make sure that something like this doesn't happen again. After that, Ignet stands tall in front of many swordsmen. One of her men said, "Ignet, I gathered them all. The swordsmen who got eliminated in the final evaluation of Krono Swordsmanship Academy." Ignet announces something on the stage. She said, "Thank you for gathering here. I have something I want to offer to you all." The men ask her what kind of offer. Ignet told them that she wanted to create a mercenary band. The swordsmen were so excited. One swordsman said, "Oh, if it is the one Ignet's making, of course, I will join." Another one said, "I cannot wait. We might really get famous." With full determination as seen in her eyes, Ignet told them, "The mercenary band isn't just for making money. We will move to make a better world. First, in order to make our name known, I will go around to the noble families and defeat them. Once we become reputable and we gather more people, we will monopolize the continent. We will ensure that no one can look down on us, regardless of talent and identity. And with that incredible influence, we will change the world." Later, Ignet decided to join the Holy Kingdom. One of his men approaches Ignet and he says, "I am sorry, Captain. I am against that. If we go under the Holy Kingdom, we will lose our rights and just receive a lot of tasks. Honor? I don't need that. I like how it is right now. I understand your grand dreams, but my abilities end here." Ignet said, "Okay, who else disagrees?" The mercenary hesitates to speak, but he tells her that almost everyone disagrees. Ignet replied, "I see. Then I guess I will go alone. Live a good life." Then Ignet walks away. While walking away, in her mind, "I don't hate my colleagues who are satisfied with the present. Since I have the power to change the world myself, I don't need to lean on anyone else. I just need to do well on my own." But George approaches her and asks, "Captain, can I come too?" Anya said that she wanted to go too. Ignet told them that if they wanted, they could follow. George said that she was cold. Anya said, "I like the cold, Captain, too." Yahoo! In Ignet's mind, there is no need to be happy. They will probably get tired soon and leave anyway. I am used to being alone. As she walks alone further, she goes into the darker part. The clown demon appears and he says, "What do you stand to gain by doing all this? All you get for running like this is just a place where you can rule as you please, and that is it. Do you think there is something more at the end?" The demon shouted, "In the end, you will remain alone in your entire life." Ignet told him that he truly knew nothing. And the next thing is that there was a slash in his face. The demon was confused, asking, "What?" Then Ignet with a flash cuts down the demon who was saying negative things. Ignet said, "If I was scared of that, I wouldn't have begun in the first place." The next thing that happens is that Ignet was able to regain consciousness, and the one she saw was George and Anya shouting their commander's name. Anya was shouting, telling their captain was awake. George asks Ignet if she is all right. Ignet slowly rise up, and Anya told her captain not to push herself too much. Ignet asks how long she was out. George told him that she was unconscious for 2 days. Ignet asks George what is the situation. George replied, "There is no additional damage to the exploration team, but due to the post-death curse left by the demon, a new barrier has formed, and the entire exploration team cannot leave the dungeon. Some soldiers were on the brink of being consumed by darkness, but thanks to Irene Pereira, everyone is fine now. Manifestation of aura and the spread of his will. An aura that exerts influence not only on oneself but on others too. It is truly remarkable." Ignet said, "I see. So that's what happened." In Ignet's mind, "The reason I threw myself at the demon is because I believed in that bastard. If it is Irene Pereira, then we can save everyone." Ignet was able to stand up now, and she roamed around to assess the area. And while she was walking, she saw Irene, Ilya, and Ruru, who were happily talking to one another while carrying the goods to give to the other soldiers. Looking at them, Ignet remembers the time when she was young like that, happily mingling with his friends in the village. Ignet told George to gather the entire exploration team. George said, "Yes, Captain, but for what reason?" Ignet replied, "With my current state, it is a bit too much to escape this place. I think I will need their help." George was speechless to hear that his captain was seeking help from someone. As what Ignet ordered, all the entire exploration teams gathered in one place. Ignet said, "As everyone knows, to leave the dungeon, we need to remove this barrier. However, right now, it seems hard for me to remove the barrier alone. Starting now, I will be counting on you." The most effective power to break a demon curse is holy power. However, this power cannot be carelessly taught to outsiders. But if I transfer my skills, there should be no problem. From now on, I will teach you my unique swordsmanship for vanquishing evil. Sir Virox, who was shocked by what he heard, asks, could it be the sword of the hero? A swordsmanship that many heroes in history have used. A secret technique that can stand against demons even without holy power. You would teach us such a valuable technique? But Sir Virox knows that initially, it won't be something easily mastered even if was taught to a swordsman. Amira, who was excited, said, wow, the chance to learn the sword of hero. It is an honor. I will work hard. Other soldiers said that they wanted to learn that too and asked Ignet to teach them well. Ignet smiled and said, seems like there are many who want it. It is good to keep our options open. I will permit everyone. Ignet asks the two young swordmasters. She said, Ilya, Irene, would you like to learn it as well? Amira looks worried looking at Ilya. In her mind, what about you, Ilya Lindsay? Even so, learning swordsmanship from Ignet might hurt one's pride a lot. But Ilya was not even affected by it. She said, thank you. I will learn it well. Amira, who was shocked, said, Miss Lindsay, show some respect to the Black Commander. Ignet told her that she can do as she wish. Ignet asks, Irene Pereira, what will you do? Irene replied, I will do my best to break the curse. Ignet told him that it was good and they could start immediately. Ignet told everyone, before mastering the sword, one must understand the magic used by demons. Magic refers to everything that deceives and destroys humans close to darkness. The exact opposite force that swallows such energy is holy power. Belief in God shines brightly on its own, making it the antithesis of demons. And the human will as well can act in place of God's grace. This way, the power of the mind, especially the will to protect the world, is materialized into energy and channeled into the realm of swordsmanship. This is the sword that protects the world and vanquishes the demons. The training starts, and one soldier says that he has no clue where to start. Looking at the one's training makes George think something in his mind. Of course, it won't be easy. Even if the basic concepts are understood, transforming one's will into the form of swordsmanship is a different matter altogether. It is impossible to materialize energy just by hearing the theory. Irene takes a sigh, and he was able to materialize the energy that Ignet taught them. He asks, is this the sword of the hero? Ignet replied, yes, but I prefer to call it the sword of the heart. 3 weeks later, both Irene and Ilya only left that was able to materialize the sword of hero. George said, only the two of them have been able to materialize the sword of heart in these 3 weeks. Ignet said, it seems that way. While looking at their training, George thinks about something. In his mind, initially, Irene Pereira showed the most promising results, but now Ilya Lindsay is showing a much faster growth rate. Is it because of Lindsay's natural talent? Or is there a special reason for it? Ilya, on the other hand, was really determined to learn it. In her mind, I don't have a heart that wishes to protect the world from demons. What is important is the guardian's will that brings out the sword of the heart. My guardian's will is the desire to protect someone who is precious to me. One soldier notices something. The other soldier asks him what is the problem. He said, didn't you hear the noise from the barrier? Then there was a sudden crack in the barrier that made both Sir Perry Martins and Sir Gregory shocked. Sir Gregory shouted, saying that the barrier broke down. It was really a crack. If you think about something dirty, then you should wash your eyes. A group of knights came inside. It was a knight wearing white armor. The one who was leading them was actually Julius Fall, the White Knight commander of the Holy Kingdom of Abilius. As soon as he saw the commander, Ignet kneels down. Sir Julius said, Ignet Crescentia, so you are still alive. Ignet replied, I apologize for showing such a pitiful state, Commander. All of the dungeon expedition members were able to escape with the help of the White Knights. They are now staying at the Labat Expedition Territory Camp. Amira orders her men, she says, organize everything quickly. As soon as the commander's meeting finishes, we will be returning to our territory. The soldiers follow what their vice commander orders. Amira was somewhat relieved that they were able to escape. In her mind, what a relief. Thanks to the Holy Nation's reinforcements, we were able to get out of the dungeon quickly. But to think all the reinforcements were swordmasters. The knights who came together with Julius Fall didn't seem to be the White Knights, so was it a secret group of knights that the Holy Nation created? Anyways, the reason that they ended up coming here, the place where the demon was, cannot be a simple coincidence. in the hall where the commanders held a meeting. Commander Julius Fall said, as I have explained before, the dungeon was the demon's den, so there is no separate reward for the dungeon raid. However, as the person in charge of the reinforcements, I will pay the fixed payment to you all. Commander Julius told them that he would pay on one condition, and that is they must not speak on anything that happened within the dungeon. Hearing that made Sir Perry Martins think that this is a serious matter. In his mind, it seems that if word about what had happened inside the dungeon spreads, it would cause chaos within the continent. I don't know how much the compensation is, but I won't refuse it. More importantly, what the hell is happening? I know a few faces in here. Why are there paladins who died several years ago here? The Holy Nation. What the hell are they planning? A week later, Irene was still thinking about what happened in the dungeon where a high-ranking demon appeared. In his mind, back then, the moment the demon was going to self-destruct, I cannot forget how powerful a figure she showed when she stood at the front without hesitation. I froze at that moment, even though I was determined to defeat the demon. Irene said, I am still so weak. A little more. I need to work a little harder. Then Sir George appeared, and he said, so you were here. I was looking for you. It has been a while, Irene. Have you been well? Sir George said, I know this is a sudden request, but there is somewhere you need to come with me right now. Irene asks, a place I need to go? Where? Sir George told Irene that his commander Ignet has recommended him and Miss Ilya for the subjugation party. Irene replied, did Ignet recommended us? If it is the subjugation party, then what is it? The eyes of Sir George start to get serious. He says, there is a high possibility that there are demons hiding in various places within the continent. A subjugation party will be formed shortly to defeat the demons. As for the result of the Holy Nation's investigation, they have reported that there is a high possibility that the clown demon is still alive. Hearing that made Irene shock. As what Sir George said, Irene and Ilya go to the meeting place. Commander Julius asks Ignet, are these the knights you recommended? Ignet replied, yes, this is Irene Pereira from the Hale Kingdom and Ilya Lindsay from the Aden Kingdom. After that recommendation, Ilya starts to question, in her mind, to think that Ignet recommended me. Why? She hasn't even looked at me once this whole time. So why? Why now? One of the old men who was a paladin said, it is not like I don't trust you, Commander, but I think we need additional verification. He told Irene and Ilya to follow him and to show him the extent of their abilities. They go to the sparring hall, and the first to battle is Irene. The old man asks, do you have any questions before we begin? Irene starts to summon his sword of light. He asks, may I know your name, Elder? The Elder replied, it is Quincy Myers. You seem quite heavy-lipped, so don't go around disclosing my name. Hearing that name made Ilya shocked. In her mind, Quincy Myers was the previous commander of the Crimson Knights. I heard he passed away 10 years ago. What is going on? Come to think of it, everyone who came to support us is quite old. Are they all paladins who were pronounced dead? The sparring was about to start. Sir Myers said, I will let you have the first attack. If you are ready, you may start. Irene thanked him for that, then he manifested the sword of heart that he was practicing. The old men who are watching are murmuring, saying that Irene has quite a nice sword. Another old man said, was he 23 years old? Compared to his age, that is a quite good aura sword. Sir Meyer releases an aura sword and spins it around with a faster speed. Meanwhile, Irene was focused because he knew an aura sword wouldn't be enough for everyone in there to accept him. He knew he needed to show something beyond that. Irene starts to focus everything on his sword, preparing for his first attack. In his mind, I knew at first glance that all the paladins here are extraordinary people whom I cannot even compare myself to. And among these powerful people, Ignet is standing confidently. I don't want to be left behind. I too want to stand where they are. And one day, Ignet, I am going to defeat you. Irene was able to manifest a fire in his sword. Ignet was amazed. In her mind, the heart sword's fire became even bigger. The energy from that fire, it is the 5-element divine technique. Sir Meyer is somewhat amazed about the sword of Irene, so he spins his sword faster and faster compared to before. He knows that to clash a sword like that he needs to go all out, receiving Irene's attack. Irene was about to release one vertical slash, but before he could do it, Commander Julius shouted, "Stop! The spar will end there. Both of you sheath your swords." Sir Meyer looks back at his commander while being confused. Commander Julius said, "You felt it too. In order to stop that sword, you wouldn't be able to come out of this unscathed." A spar like that is unnecessary. Good job, Irene Pereira. You have a great sword. Irene, who was also confused, just thanked the commander for the praises. One paladin said, "Amazing. It had truly been a while since I had seen such an exemplary sword." The other paladin agreed and he said, "Then I guess he has passed." Ignet said, "No, the verification process has yet to be finished." She also told Ilya Lindsay that she also needs to do well. Hearing the name of Ilya Lindsay, the focus of the old paladins was focused on her. They were murmuring about her. They said, "So she is the descendant of the Lindsay family, huh? I am looking forward to it. There must be a reason why the commander of the Black Knights recommended her." Ignet told the White Knight commander, Ilya Lindsay also conquered the darkness that the demon spread throughout the dungeon. She also learned my hero sword when everyone else found it very difficult. Hearing that Ilya's expression seems to go darker because she doesn't want the praise of Ignet and she wants her to stop saying that. Ignet told everyone that she would vouch for Ilya and she believes that Ilya Lindsay already qualifies as a great swordsman. Hearing that made Ilya was shocked to hear that from the person she hated the most. She walks slowly forward to say something, but she stutters and cannot say the word she wants to express, so the only choice she could do is to run away. Even Irene was confused as to why his friend ran away. While running away, Ilya seems to be in a sad expression. She starts to question herself. What am I doing right now? Why am I running away? When she acknowledged me, why did I feel so agitated? I thought I would be okay. I thought it didn't bother me anymore, but still, I am being swayed by it. The old man was confused as to why Ilya suddenly ran away. He said, "What just happened? Were we staring too much?" Another paladin looks at Ignet and an idea comes into his mind. He said, I get it now. That woman, it must be that time of the month, the red month." Another paladin replied, yeah, what a complicated situation." Commander Julius calls out to Irene. He says, "Let's go back to talking to business. I will cut straight to the point. You will not be allowed to join the subjugation party." Irene was alarmed to hear that since he wanted to join. Commander Julius said, "Irene, I was indeed surprised after seeing you fight. You definitely have the potential. However, the subjugation party isn't something you can join just by having potential. I will tell you this since you made it this far. We are the Purification Squad. Every knight here has either been officially retired or has been officially declared dead. It is an organization where everyone must hide themselves while acting in secrecy. Our mission is to defend the world from demons. If the world descends into chaos after learning about how the demons have prevailed, the dimensional crack between the human and demon realms will open up again. And so, the subjugation party must keep its members to a minimum. Only the elite among the elites can join it." Sir Meyer told Irene, "And even if we do increase the number of members allowed, there is Caricum of the West, the 5 great sword families, and the Luntal Kingdom's 3 patriarchs. It would only be right to recruit those people first." Irene was silent after hearing that. Then the burning flames inside Irene start to grow stronger and larger. He said, "If I become even stronger, if I get so much stronger that I won't be able to be defeated by the evil power of the demons, would you take me in as a member of the subjugation party?" Commander Julius released a very strong pressure that even made Irene alarmed. He said, "Don't be mistaken, Irene Pereira. The objective of our party is to end things before you become that strong." As Irene felt the intense pressure, he could only think one thing. A powerful pressure that not even a needle could get through. A pressure that is hard to go against. Commander Julius stops releasing the intense pressure. He said, "Well, if you still want to join so badly after hearing so much from us, there is a way." Irene asks him, "What is it?" He said, "The thing you need to do is to find Khan. If you get his acknowledgement, then I will reconsider accepting you into the Purification Squad." On the other hand, Ilya was outside slashing her sword to vent her anger. In her mind, "I ended up running away again. I started realizing it ever since the banquet hall. Ignet doesn't care about me at all, and so, I too will not care about her." That is what I had resolved to do and had acted in accordance to so far. The moment she said that she would vouch for me and I was qualified as a great swordsman, I cannot believe I was shaken by that one sentence. In the end, my passing of the dungeon trial and being able to cut through the darkness, they were all to get that acknowledgement from Ignet, who doesn't care about me at all. Am I only left with the choice of being swayed by her? Can I never be free from her? Then while she was thinking about that, some random man called Ilya. After she saw that man, Ilya started to cry. It was actually her father, Joshua Lindsay. He said, "My dear daughter, it's been a while, hasn't it?" She runs toward her father and hugs her while crying. Her father said, "Looks like you've had a hard time while traveling around for so long. It is all right now. Everything is going to be all right." Going back, Irene was told by Commander Julius to find Kun and gain his acknowledgement to become part of the Purification squad. After hearing that, Irene remembers that Kun was the person that Kuvar told him about, the man who became a swordmaster at the age of 70. Commander Julius told Irene Kun's standards are the strictest, and he evaluates others with those very standards. If you are able to get his acknowledgement, then you will be able to convince others within this squad that you are qualified. That is all I can tell you. The decisions that need to be made from now on will have to be made by you and you alone. Then some random guy suddenly entered. He said, "It seems you are all gathered here, huh?" Commander Julius told Sir Meyer that it looked like that guy found out that Ilya Lindsay had experienced a powerful demon. Sir Meyer replied, "That makes things a little more complicated." Commander Julius said, "We are lucky that the young man managed to distract him from us." Sir Myers asks, "What does he mean?" Commander Julius replied, "Are you unaware? Joshua Lindsay is famous for having a soft spot for his daughter." Joshua Lindsay called out to Irene for a walk. He asks, "Irene Pereira, do you know who I am?" Irene replied, "Yes, from what I heard just now, you are the lord of the Lindsay family, Ilya's father." Joshua said, "I have heard that you have a very close relationship with my daughter." Irene was somewhat confused by this question. He said, "Pardon? Yes, that is correct." Like a normal father who is a sucker for his daughter, his expression suddenly changed like he was about to chew Irene. He said, "What do you mean that is correct? I have heard there were 4 of you traveling together, but there is only you right now." In Joshua's mind, this place should be good enough for the beating. Joshua Lindsay unsheathed his sword. He angrily shouted, "Was this your plan? I asked if you planned so that you would end up traveling with my daughter." Irene was panicking. He said, "What? No, I wasn't up to anything." Joshua asks him if he pulls any tricks to be with Ilya alone. Irene was doing his best to stop the angry father. He replied, "Yes, I didn't do anything like that. I am telling the truth." But that made Joshua Lindsay enter Super Saiyan because of anger. He said, "Are you saying that my daughter is so lousy that you wouldn't even think of doing anything weird?" He points his sword at Irene and he says, "Irene Pereira, draw your sword. We will be doing some guidance training right now." Irene, who was panicking, hurriedly summons his sword. He asks, "Why are you doing this to me?" Then suddenly he jumps at Irene, which makes the whole ground crack, and then slashes Irene. He shouted, "Are you seriously asking me that? Just for being unaware of why am I doing this, you have proven yourself guilty." Irene managed to block the attack, but he was pushed and lost his balance. Sir Joshua Lindsay was spinning and was about to attack again. Joshua jumps again at Irene and slashes him with the sword. Irene blocked it again, but he was pushed away too far. Irene cannot believe that Joshua is that strong when he even blocks his attack. Irene was panicking when Joshua jumped again to attack, which he was luckily able to dodge, but it created a long sword mark on the ground. Irene was panting from the attack by Joshua. Joshua's aura was so intense that it seemed like he would beat anyone who stayed close to his daughter. A father who is a sucker for his daughter is the hardest. Irene was just holding a sword preparing for the attack of Joshua. In his mind, this isn't even guidance training anymore. I can tell that he is putting his emotions into his strikes while attacking me. Why is he doing this? 2 weeks ago in the carriage, Joshua Lindsay asked the old man, "My daughter is in danger. Tell me the specifics." The old man said, "This map is a mystical map which can show the location of someone who was imprinted with blood. Usually, when they appear on the map, the color looks green, but young Miss Ilya's color is black. In this case, there is a high possibility that she is in a place with an energy that is more dense than magic power. For example, a place where demonic energy is dense." Hearing that made Joshua Lindsay panic. He shouted, "What? Damn it! Horsemen, go faster!" They reach the Labat territory and go to Sir Perry Martin's office. Perry Martins tells him everything, including how they were able to escape the dungeon and that Ilya is safe, so he doesn't need to worry anymore. Joshua takes a breather and is now relieved to hear that his daughter is safe. Sir Perry said, Anyways, to think you personally came all the way here. The rumors about how much you love your daughter must be true. Emma on of the Lindsay Knights looks at the master of the Lindsay family in her mind. He was very against it when the young miss said she was going to develop herself. After the young master went missing, he's been more sensitive towards the young miss safety. Sir Perry Martins happily said, well, Miss Ilya is a great swordmaster, but since she has a reliable mystical cat by her side, you don't need to worry too much. Joshua asks him if he is referring to his friends. Sir Perry was confused. He said, huh? Friends? The only one who was continuously by her side was a boy named Irene Pereira. Hearing that made Joshua angry, he said, Emma, didn't you say that they were traveling in a group of 4? Emma replied, I am certain that it was 4 people the last time I saw them. It seems like they separated afterward. Joshua was shaking from anger. He said, a boy and a girl are traveling alone? I need to see that bastard Irene's face right now. In the present, they continuously battle with one another. Irene knows that he cannot turn the tables by just defending, so he decides to attack too. Irene starts to release slashes for a counter. Joshua Lindsay noticed it. He said, what a skilled sword. Were you hiding your skills this whole time? Then he tried to release one thrust and told Irene to do his best to block that attack. Irene thinks that he needs to use the sky sword of the Lindsay family in order to take his hit. Then a tornado appeared from the sky sword that Irene released. Joshua Lindsay was shocked to see that their family technique was used against him. He asked Irene how does he knew the sky sword. He got enraged because of that. He shouted, you bastard. Did you bewitch Ilya and steal her sky sword too? Die. Irene was alarmed at that enrage attack by Ilya's father. The next thing that happens is that there was a large explosion from that attack. And from that attack, a huge crater was made and Irene was there lying and was completely beaten up. Joshua somewhat regrets that he got enraged too much. Ilya then suddenly appeared calling Irene after she heard the explosion. She asks Irene if he is okay and he needs to hold herself since she will help him get treated. Ilya shouted at her dad asking him what he was doing. Joshua told his daughter that it was just guidance training. Ilya angrily replied, you call this guidance training? Irene was still shaking from that attack and slowly stood up. Ilya was worried about him. Irene assured Ilya that he was okay and could walk by himself now. Irene walked toward Joshua and thanked him for the spar, mentioning that he had learned a lot from it. Irene told Joshua, I am sorry for asking you this, but may I ask you for more of the guidance training next time? I have a reason that I need to become stronger. Please. Ilya glares at his dad. As a father who is soft towards his daughter, he has no choice but to comply. He told Irene that he could become his opponent while he stayed here, and every night at 7 o'clock they could spar in the empty lot. Irene was happy and thanked him. Joshua starts to walk away and tells Emma that he is too tired now and he will leave Ilya at her. Joshua also noticed that Ilya improved while he was with Irene. In his mind, he seems nice and well-mannered. He is skilled compared to his age too. No, I still cannot acknowledge him. I will show him hell starting tomorrow. In one of the mysterious caves, the clown demon was in there trying to regain his power and heal his body. He put his mask back on. He was somewhat relieved that he was able to escape. He said, my power is slowly returning. That black-haired girl was from the Holy Kingdom, right? That aura attack with strong divine power was really dangerous. If she was that strong, then she would have survived my self-destructing attack. The paladins will soon start making their move. First, I will release the dummies, and after stirring chaos in the continent, I am going to recover my power by returning to the underworld when the dimensional gap widens. Then a random human appeared. He said, no, you cannot return to the underworld now. The clown demon was shocked. He said, a human? How did you enter here? But the closer the clown demon looks at the human, he realizes that he was mistaken too. He realized that this guy was the same as him, a demon. This guy was actually the mysterious guy in the Land of Proof Coliseum who was spreading demonic energy. The clown demon said, I knew that there were other demons in the human world besides me, but to think I would see you here. So, what is your reason for coming here? The mysterious human told him to divert the Holy Kingdom's attention. The clown demon asks, why should I do that? The mysterious human starts to get serious. He says, due to you stirring things, the Holy Kingdom will begin to search throughout the whole continent. That means that it has impacted my plans. The clown demon asks him what plans. He replied, I am nurturing a human right now. However, I have only just begun to achieve my plan, turning the human world into the underworld. That is my final goal." The demon laughs. He says, "I see. Then you know the demon dragon king's end, right? Even if you are a demon, if your ambition becomes obvious, your end will be despicable." The mysterious human transfers some magic that could transfer some memory to the clown demon. He told the clown demon that if he saw that he would understand his goals. The clown demon laughs sinisterly while shaking with excitement. He said, "Oh, this is it. I see. It was that. I misinterpreted such an important guest. To think you really did it. A demon who wasn't born in the demon world.